Brad Williams, XL Primed. We are going to find the average vehicle price. We're going to use AVERAGEIFS. Why? We have multiple criteria, along with multiple options, allowing us to average based on, in our first example, greater than zero. Well, I'll get into the greater than zero, greater than 50 grand and doors and wheels, and I'll explain it as we move forward. Here's our layout. What are we going to do? We're going to find average vehicle prices based on some criteria. Here's our AVERAGEIFS. Here's our anatomy. We have 3 examples. Here's the first one, greater than zero, greater than something and less than 50, and 3 doors and 2 wheels. Here we have F9, no name ranges, if you noticed. Here's just a quick overview, a long and extensive write-up. I'll cover in bits and pieces what we're doing here. The AVERAGEIF function computes the average of the numbers in a list that meet the criteria specified in the supplied data sets. The first list provided to AVERAGEIFS contains the number to average. Data sets are provided in data pairs. Here is a data pair. Our range criteria, data pair, range criteria, data pair. You're going to see AVERAGEIFS, AVERAGEIFS, and average. We're going to use this AVERAGEIF 3 times in 3 different examples. AVERAGEIF applies AND logic, and that means both have to be true in order for this to move forward. Otherwise, it has to default to something. Here, greater than zero. Here's some other criteria we'll get into. A data set may be provided as numbers, text, or references. Examples of valid data sets include 10, greater than 10, notice, double quotes, B5, and we have a concatenation here. The data set may also contain wildcards for partial matching. AVERAGEIFS belongs to a group of 8 Excel functions that divide logical data sets into 2 components, range and criteria. As a result, the syntax used to construct sets of data is distinct, and AVERAGEIFS requires a cell range for range arguments. AVERAGEIFS will automatically reject empty cells, even when matching data sets are present. AVERAGEIFS will exclude empty cells from the average calculations. AVERAGEIFS returns div errors if the data set contains no cells. For example, AVERAGEIFS C5, C13, that would be our average range. C5, C13 would be our range, and our criteria would be greater than zero. The formulas calculate the average selling price of well, not properties. How about cars? Let's just get into this thing. Here we have 48,417. What are we doing? Well, here's our average range, C5 to C13. What is our criteria range? Well, it's the same. We can do that. And anything greater than zero, average, would be our first example. The result is 48417. We go in here, we go equals average, average, grab this data set, and they match. Here, we have a second example, AVERAGEIF, using pretty much the same format, C5, C13, criteria range, same, C5, C13, criteria greater than zero. Here's the second criteria. Criteria range, C5, C13. Now, this second criteria is less than 50 grand. We're going to look for everything less than 50 grand and average. We hit F9, you're going to see this all over the place. Anything under, and I'm not going to break this down because we have this ran between, but we'll take it for granted that this is correct. Third criteria and last criteria, or example, AVERAGEIFS, C5, C13, D5, C13, our criteria range D5 to D13. We're going to look at this D5 to D13. What's the criteria? Greater than or equal to 2. So we're looking for anything with 2 doors or greater. What is the next criteria range? E5 to E13. greater than 1. So anything that has more than 2 doors and more than one-wheel drive. In other words, we're going to look at all of this, and our number should be the exact same thing as this. If we change this up a little bit, if we say greater than equal to 3, that would mean 3 doors. Go 3 doors, and you're going to see a change here. Anything less than 2 doors, we're excluding. And then if we go greater than 2 door, we'll just pinch that down. You could sort through this, but this is pretty nifty, pretty slick method of just doing an average ifs. Change this up if you want. Look at the anatomy if you need to. Read it if you need it. There are hints here. Notice I stopped first example, but we can use multiples like I just showed. You can use wildcards. A lot of creativity with these average ifs and sum ifs and count ifs. Work at it. If you have any problems, just break this down piece by piece. Read it if you need it. Brad Williams, XL Prime. Thanks.